Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here for our podcast episode today. My name is Katie Ganderton, also known as Tenacious Kate. And today we're talking on a super important topic that is one of the key influencers of being able to gain your freedom back, and freedom in what your day looks like, freedom in your choices, freedom in friendship and that kind of stuff. And so why boundaries are part of creating freedom. And, often what we see is a lot of anxiety, a lot of the hustle and bustle. And you guys, there's nothing wrong with hustling. I am one of those that I love a good hustle. Like, it is definitely something that I thrive in. I love the energy of it. And it's something that keeps me constantly just on my toes, which is something that energizes me. But there are also things that have to be put in place so I do not overwhelm myself. And this is a practice probably within the last year and a half that I've really grown to start loving. And before that, though, it was constantly, and I still do pack my days full of things. But back then it was like I would just pack them. If there was 5 minutes that was spare, I was doing something, and there was no intention. I just would be busy doing stuff all the time. There was never that focused and just kind of, okay, what am I doing next? Something, and I will say this is a practice that does take practice. I still will find myself sometimes like, okay, go back and focus. What are you supposed to be doing? This is an ever evolving, ever visiting practice that you need to do, but it is something that you want to really get get a grip on, because it's super helpful in your business. And if you're watching the video of this, you guys, I have a beanie on, which I typically don't wear beanies or anything like that on a live video, but it's like -8 degrees out and I have had the hardest time staying warm even in my house. And so I have a beanie on. So just so you know, if this is your first go around watching Tenacious Kate, let's just know that I do usually look a little more put together, but you get the authentic me at all times here. And so that is what you're getting today. So I want to touch on why it's hard for people to set boundaries first, just so we have a grip on, is this you? Is this something you struggle with? Is this something that somebody else struggles with, that you could maybe help them, share this podcast with them, and guide them in what it is that can set them on track. But people typically lack boundaries because there's a few reasons. Okay, one of them is they like feeling needy, and they like feeling like people need them at all times, and so they want to become that yes person, right? And so the other piece is they maybe never were taught how to set boundaries, and I feel like I think there's probably a good amount of both that are out there. And it's not easy to set boundaries. And sometimes the people that need the boundaries the most are going to be the people that are closest to you, which are going to be family and coworkers and that kind of stuff. And so just know that it takes practice, consistent practice. And so I want you to think about yourself. If you want to close your eyes and you want to think about the last 1 to 2 months, or even the last 6 months, have you said yes to so many things because you want to feel like you can get it all done? And if you don't do it, it's not going to get done right? So you put your hand up, even though your plate might already be overflowing, right? And so I want you to visualize your past 6 months, and have you said yes? Have you said yes to, doing after school activity stuff? Have you said yes to doing all the church groups? Have you said yes to doing all the bringing the meals for different things? Have you said yes to being the volunteer mom at class? Have you said yes to the gym events? Like, all of those things. Have you been the person that's constantly been like, yes, 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 only to find that you are just like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. There's so much on my plate. And maybe by the end of the day, you're going, man, I had a good day, but what was productive in it? And you just are going, I really didn't get a whole lot of work done today, but I did go do this, 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 and this, and this, right? And so this might be a great thing for you to pay attention to as far as like setting some boundaries. And I'm going to touch on a couple ways just to start with setting some of those boundaries, and one of the other things too is, as a child, boundaries may not have been anything that you had, especially if you have like brothers and sisters. I feel like that's a boundary that never gets put in place because because it's, constantly taking from one another. If it's hers, it's mine too. And, the sharing aspect it's such a dynamic to deal with as children. And I think it's really hard for people to be able to understand like that. No, there's got to be a boundary, that this is their space, this is their time, that kind of stuff. And so with that, I want to touch just on a couple of things of how you can start by setting boundaries, you guys, because I know, as me, with the ADHD brain of myself that I constantly have a squirrel mentality, and it is always going between, the Tenacious Kate coaching business that we have, but also I am a top leader, at the very top leader in my direct sales company, and I run a very large organization, and it's something that I have to keep focus to make sure that I am intentional with what it is I'm doing, and it is hard. It is very hard, especially as your brain is going so quickly. I also have 3 children. I have 3 dogs, so it's a lot to handle, but if it's not handled, it gets out of control. And so one of the tips that I want to give you, if you feel like this is you, of, gosh, I feel like I'm constantly anxious. I feel like I'm always busy, but I'm not productive, and I don't seem to be getting things done on my goals. But I always seem busy. This is going to be something that you want to practice. And so I want you to look at your calendar. I want you to look at a week of your calendar. And if you're working a day job from like 9 to 8 to noon and 1 to 4 or whatever that is, those are what we would consider like a boulder. And a boulder on your calendar, that is something that's a non-negotiable. It's not going to move. You have to go to work. You need to pay your bills. It needs to be on your calendar, right? And so block that on your calendar so you don't run over your calendar. And I don't care if you use a paper calendar or if you're using a phone calendar, whatever, floats your boat, it works for you. I have done both. And, right now, the one on my phone seems to be the best method because it's with me at all times. But I did used to carry a paper calendar with me at all times as well. So whatever you think is going to be most effective for you, they're trial by error on that one. But you want to get those non-negotiables on your calendar. So like your work is a non-negotiable. If you are picking up children from school, that's a non-negotiable, right? Okay. I think one of the other things for me that I consider non-negotiable is going to the gym. And for me, one of the scenarios that's recently happened, and I've had a huge shift in my boundaries, is we moved to a new area outside of our bubble. We didn't know the area really at all. We don't know the surroundings or anything like that. So it's been a humongous change. The kids have switched schools, which starts significantly later than the last one. So our entire routine has been completely thrown off for the last few months. And I have tried to keep my same schedule as before we moved, and it simply didn't work. It was creating so much anxiety, so much frustration. I was gaining weight. I just was feeling super unhappy, and tensions were high. And I was not getting as much work done or being as productive as I wanted to be in the time frame that I wanted to be in. Okay, and so I had to relook at everything. And so I've shifted to now I've changed my boundary. And so my morning routine, as much as I don't like being a morning person, like it's not necessarily an option. I still maybe am not necessarily a morning person, but it's the time that I can get it in was still allowing me a day of being able to focus on my 2 companies that I have. And so, I have it on my calendar that from 5 till 6:30 a.m., that is my time that I am like from 4:50, like getting up, getting to the gym, getting my workout, and then driving home. Like that is all encompassed in that block of time, and it's on my calendar. Okay, so you really truly want to start putting everything on your calendar so that you understand what that time looks like, what you have available, what you don't have available. And so you really start to become really smart and wise to what is taking your day. Okay. And so I will put on there my gym. I will put on my kids' morning routine because honestly, to get 3 children out of the house, get them fed, get them up, ready, dogs fed, all that stuff, it does take focus. It does take a lot of focus. And that's something that I have got to make sure that we set that time aside for. And so with doing that, it allows me to not put anything else in my day during that time. And now, like, I don't feel guilty about it anymore. I used to feel really guilty because I would get messages from my team at all times of the day. I would get messages from customers I've gotten messages from customers at like 11 p.m., and nothing's going to happen at 11 p.m. Like nothing is open. So it's like they can wait till tomorrow and I can get back to them and I can, and that's okay. Right. Like no one's going to die. Right. Because they didn't get a return label or something like that. So thinking of it in that manner. And so once I was able to set those boundaries in place, I was able to not feel guilty for not answering a message from a teammate. I was simply able to say, hey, I will be available after this time. I will be available after this time and I will get back with you then. And it's that simple. And does it take some practice of repeating that? Absolutely. But once you have that down, it 1000% just it frees up your mindset and takes that pressure off your shoulders, which is so valuable to you. Okay. So once you've got those non-negotiable things on your calendar, that is what you're going to work around. The next thing that you're going to put in there are going to be kind of like those bigger, like rocks, really, that I would consider, like, if the gym is something that's not a non-negotiable to you, then do it as a rock that's going to take, a piece out of your day that is important, right? But it can move around, right? It doesn't have to be set at the same time every day, right? So those kinds of things. And then after that, you have like the little bitty things that you're going to weave in and out, like going and getting gas, right? That kind of stuff. Those are tiny little things that are just minuscule, that just take a little bit of that time out of your day. But you want to make sure, again, that you have those things on your calendar and they're accounted for so you can see where your time is effectively being spent or not being spent, and you can correct. Okay. So I know this is a short and sweet one, but I promise you, with starting to set some of your boundaries, you're going to feel so much freedom and power and regaining your power back, and your sense of self and worth, because you do have something to offer. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that was my ginormous dog barking. With that being said, you guys, when we talk about you gain the freedom, it doesn't mean that you become less busy. You just become more intentional with your time and more effective with your time, which is what you want. And you don't always want to be that yes person. There is so much power in saying no, and being able to pick and choose what you want to say yes to, because again, there may be somebody else that's better suited for that yes than you. You just happen to jump the gun and say yes instead of saying, you know what, that might be better suited for somebody else. If you can't find anybody, then maybe come back to me. But I think somebody else would be better suited for that than me. So I appreciate it, kind of thing. So it's okay to say no. And like I said, there is power in it. And you take back that and you get to become you and enjoy your time the way you want. So I hope you like this. Please make sure that you like, that you follow, that you join us in our Tenacious Kate community over on Facebook. We do drop these every Monday at 8 a.m. live, so you can catch those. But tag a friend. Make sure that you give us a 5-star review, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.